I don't know why, but you are watching the Madness Comic Network. Are you mental?
The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better.
If you were sold money and you don't...
Morning, Mr. Hammond. Your mission, should you accept it, steal, destroy, shadow, disappear, assemble the team, and here we go.
Ooh, yeah. Welcome to FreeWheeling Fridays, part of the Madness Comic Network. I am your host, Ryan of And Quote Channel, and I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you to our good friend Case for putting that intro together for this new era, this new iteration of FreeWheeling Fridays. Thank you so much, Case. I love you, brother. That is a great intro. I love it. Every single second and moment of it, if I do say so myself. Joining us this week is someone who was just on with us a week ago, and don't worry, your eyes aren't seeing double. Your vision isn't deceiving you. This is what we call the sequel, when something is so good as the original, because these days, Sydney, you gotta make a sequel. So please welcome indie writer and pop culture historian extraordinaire, Bobby Nash is back. Hello, Bobby. Good to see you again. How are
Good to
you?
see you too. Yeah, I've always heard font of useless knowledge, but I like yours. I like yours better. So I started to wear the same shirt as last week just to screw with people's heads, but I just said no. Then they'll just think I haven't showered in a week.
But you have.
But I have.
But I have, because we like to keep things clean around here. But anyway, it's great to see you, Bobby. It's great to see you, who may be watching or listening to us for the very first time. If this is your first time here, we talk about all things pop culture here on Freewheeling Fridays. We will be discussing some things that have dropped this week. Specifically, the new Superman movie trailer has dropped, directed by James Gunn of Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as many other movies fame. So if you're a fan of DC, Marvel, or some of the things that may or may not be going on in the comic book movie cinematic universe, you may want to tune in for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. And if you have any questions about anything going on in the realms of pop culture, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. We want to hear from you. We encourage the interaction. Do not forget to like and share this with everyone you know. And if you're joining us live for what is known as a replay, like I said, your eyes aren't seeing double because Bobby just happens to be our guest for the second week in a row. Thank you so much. Exactly. Bobby's cleaning his glasses because he just want to make sure he's not seeing double.
Right.
Thank you for being with us. Pops Van Zant says, evening, Ryan. He also says hello to Bobby Nash. Hello, Bobby.
Pops.
So there you go. Pops is here with us. Good to see you, kind sir. Hope everything's well in your neck of the woods. And I hope you, who may be watching or listening to this, is enjoying what has been going on in terms of the holiday season. With that being said, Bobby, the last time you and I are here, we were talking about some of the wonderful things you've been putting together, such as I showed some people some examples of this last week, but we're going to get into it a little bit further here. You do something known as bookmarks and hangers and all that kind of stuff. So I brought up some examples of your work. So I inspired you to put together the Nature Boy.
That was inspired here last weekend or last Friday. Yes, when we were talking.
Yeah, last week. Yeah, the door hanger here. So explain to us, what made you decide to do door hangers aside from bookmarks?
Well, I started out doing the bookmarks. It's one of those weird things. I just found a packet of blank bookmarks in one of the arts and crafts stores. And I was like, oh, this will be fun. And I didn't think it would be a thing. It would just be something I would do for a week or two. I'd get it out of my system. But I'm still having fun with it. I just drew 4 of them tonight. I just finished 4 of them right before we came on tonight. And then after doing the bookmarks for a while, I was thinking, what can I do next? And I was in that same arts and crafts store, and I saw packets of the blank. I was like, ooh. And so I tried some of those, and those worked pretty well. And I've just had fun with them. They're a lot of fun. It was just something I was going to do for fun. Then mistake is probably not the right word, but I took a photo and put them on social media and says, hey, I drew some stuff. And within 5 minutes, I was getting messages going, are those for sale? So it became a thing. And so they've become a big hit at conventions as well. I have them on my table when I do conventions and appearances. They've had this wonderful bonus of getting people who wouldn't have stopped just because of the books. The art gets people to stop. And so I can talk to them while they're looking through art, and I can mention the books and that kind of stuff while they're looking at art. And it's become a wonderful little side hustle, I guess, doing the art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, really good stuff. And this is some of the recent bookmarks.
Oh, excuse me.
Excuse yourself. Don't
No,
lose
how about
yourself
that?
here. You've only been on the air for 2 minutes. Come on now. Anyway, these are some of the more recent bookmarks you took place. And who are these characters aside
Yeah.
from the obvious one of Spider-Man?
I did that was one I did earlier this week. Starting at the left, that's GI Robot from the new Creature Commandos cartoon that's on HBO Max. The second one is the Black Knight, who is a Scooby-Doo villain. I have a big fondness for Scooby-Doo, so I've drawn a lot of the Scooby-Doo villains. The one in the middle, that's Wrecker from the Bad Batch, the Star Wars cartoon. In his helmet, I I love drawing characters with helmets and metal and armor because easier than drawing real faces. Spidey, of course, I could draw Spidey in my sleep at this point. Drawn Spider-Man and Batman so many times I could, yeah. Actually, the only one of these I used it had reference for is I took a quick look at the GI Robot and Wrecker before I drew these. The others I did from memory. And the shark Bruce from Jaws. I've drawn Bruce a number of times as well. The other biggies that I draw a lot because they're popular: Jack Skellington, Spider-Man, Batman, Deadpool, obviously, Spider-Gwen. Those are the biggies. Scooby-Doo himself is a big one. The Peanuts. People go nuts for the Peanuts ones as well. Lucy, especially. I've put Lucy, like I have a bookmark and door hangers with Lucy and the psychiatrist. There's a great one where it's like, it's a door hanger and it's like, come on in. It's like instead of the doctor is in, it's like, come on in. But yeah, people love those old cartoon characters. So Scooby and Looney Tunes characters and Peanuts and yeah, so they're just fun. And I love those characters, so it's fun to go back and revisit them. That's the hardest thing is figuring out who to draw.
Yeah. Depends on the day, depends on the mood. And if someone wants to know more about these bookmarks or hangers, they can purchase them from you. And here's an example of some more pieces of your work. And here's what the prices are. Are these correct?
Yeah, that's it. I put those. I did this little sale for the holidays. Yeah, the bookmarks are just 10 a piece or 3 for 20. The door hangers are 20 each or 3 for 40. So basically, buy 2 get 1 free. Yeah, and I just enjoy them. I mean, and if you look at the art here, it kind of runs the gamut. There's a lot of cartoon characters, comic book characters, G.I. Joe, or gets Transformers, Star Wars. Occasionally I'll see something that's just too cool not to try. Like there's on the bookmark art here you've got shown. I saw a commercial for Lego Snoop Dogg.
Oh my gosh.
Snoop Dogg. That kind of stuff. So and sometimes you just see something like, or whatever I'm watching on TV or just whatever I'm in the mood for. Like drawing Homie the Clown from In Living Color was just one of those things that popped into my head. It just no rhyme or reason for it. It was just suddenly there. Others are, whatever I'm in the mood for. Sometimes with the door hangers, especially, I do like holiday themes. So I did a bunch of horror stuff around Halloween, Christmas stuff around Christmas.
Oh, so that's really good.
Yeah,
those are really good stuff. I mean, honestly, it brings back that feeling of nostalgia. And it feels like a lot of these images jumped right off of a cartoon, an actual cartoon or a comic book. I mean, Cobra Commander looks fantastic here.
I do love drawing Cobra Commander. That the mask is so much fun to put all the shading and
those G.I. Joe soldiers, and you hear the voice.
Yeah, and these are also has the side effect of kind of helping me relax because I spend my day writing. And I write a lot of stuff where there's murder and mayhem. I'm plotting murder.
People are getting killed. Planes are crashing.
Yeah,
what's his name? Abraham Snow is trying to get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, people are stalking. Yeah, it's so I'm doing all this darker stuff during the day. So at night after dinner, when I sit and I'm drawing away. It kind of calms me into the evening and just kind of settles. And it's fun, so I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun.
You know, something that's somewhat related to G.I. Joe was a show that was kind of, you know, not based off of it, but it was kind of like a similar type thing. Did you ever hear of something called Mask, Mobile Armored
I
Strike
have.
Command from back
Yep.
in the day? Do you remember that at all?
I did do a mask bookmark once, just the main guy. I haven't done more than him, but I did the mask.
Oh, you've done Matt Tracker. Okay.
Thank you, Matt Tracker. I used to love. I remember
Tracker.
watching that one. I had a great theme song, and I
Oh, yeah.
remember enjoying that one. But yeah, I grew up in that era. I watched like G.I. Joe and Transformers, or
Mask.
things like that. You know, Thundercats and
Thundercats. Ho!
yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Right at the era where I was still young enough that I was enjoying that, but I was just
Mhm.
getting into those teenage years where I was slowly getting away from cartoons all the time. But you know, but there was still some good stuff there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we've actually had the pleasure of interviewing on Anti-Quote Channels and the Anti-Quote flagship show. Doug Stone, the voice of Tracker, was
Nice.
one of our first guests that we ever had on the program.
That's very cool. Yeah, there's been a lot of voice actors at conventions
Mm-hmm.
lately.
Mm-hmm.
I've met
Very
a lot
popular.
more. Yeah, which is really cool, seeing the people behind the scenes that do what they do. And
all those characters. Yeah. And so if you know of somebody who's going to be at a convention that you may be tabling at, or just may be, you know, going to as a spectator, you should give one of your bookmarks to one of those actors.
I've actually done that before. That's kind of before I started doing the bookmarks. I used to take with me the little note cards to.
Oh yes, the sketch cards.
You never know when you never know when you need to write down.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. And so if I was ever at a show and got bored or it was a slow bit, I would sketch something, and it would usually be something, either someone I saw walk by in a costume. I would sketch that and just give it to them. Or if there's a guest there that's something, I'd sketch it and give it to them. And so those were fun.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And something I wanted to address this last week, but we talked so much and talked about so many different things. We ran the gamut here. It's beyond ridiculous to me. But it seems like you and I are on the same wavelength. We're some Punico here. I'm just curious. Do you have any long boxes of comics in your collection?
I have short boxes of comics.
Oh, short boxes.
The long boxes don't fit in the closet where I keep them.
Oh,
so
no.
I have short boxes.
I see. I see. Do they contain a lot of Spidey comics? I'm assuming.
Yeah. I've got a number of
different characters,
lengthy runs. Yeah, some Spidey, some. I had a Batman kick in the late 80s and early 90s, and Fantastic Four was probably the one I have the most. But I have a nice run of the Avengers, and then Captain America, Thor, those kind of characters and books. And when I got into collecting comics, also I would look for, I don't collect based on monetary worth. I collect based on what I like. And so I have some like full runs of things that nobody cares about, but like I have a full run of Spider-Woman, I have a full run of She-Hulk, and their 70s books where nobody cared, but it was fun to track all those down, and that was most of the fun of collecting, was tracking those down. And I enjoy reading them as well, but yeah, tracking down back issues. And when I started, there were a lot of places that had quarter bins, and you could just go and spend hours. And so I found a lot of stuff that way. These days, most of my comic reading happens in trade form. I don't
paperbacks.
I don't get to the shops as often. Like I used to go every week. I don't get to do that as like I used to. So I've gotten into the point of just waiting until they put a trade out. I go get the trade, I read it, and then those go on the bookshelf.
The bookshelf. It's probably 6 feet deep, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's full. There's
full
of books over there. So I have a wall that's over there you can't see.
Yonder.
I'm thinking about building like a bookshelf that just fills the whole wall.
That would be fantastic. You should take pictures of that before and
after. I have one over here like that too. There's a big shelf that's just built onto the wall.
That's even better. Does one of these shelves include Spider-Man Kraven's Last Hunt?
It does.
I was going to say that's one of the bigger iconic.
I do own them in comic form, but I do have the trade as well.
Ah, look at you. You have
The
backups for
the cons,
backups.
and when I go to cons and shops, I'll look for things, especially like these days. You find the $5 trade bins are my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Like yesterday, I
Yeah.
was
What
at
did you
a
find?
yesterday I went out with a buddy of mine and we had
Sure.
lunch, and so we stopped at the comic shop and I picked up a couple of old trades. Like I didn't
Look
have
at
these.
that.
I've not sorry, I have not read this one yet. So that
Mhm.
was fun. That was a nice find. I've read all the stories in this, but not this particular collection. So
Oh my.
yeah.
That's awesome sauce. If I've ever seen it, that's a nice looking cover too.
Yeah. So it's fun
Fantastic.
to yeah, it's fun to
Hope.
find old trades and
Mm-hmm.
or get trades of stuff you've already got
Mm-hmm.
it in comic form, but then you find them at a good price and ooh, that'll be good on the shelf. And
Yeah, absolutely. And Woody's here with us. He says hello to Pops, Ryan, and Bobby. Hello,
hi,
Woody. Good to see
Woody.
you again. Hope everything's well in your neck of the woods. And by the way, Bobby, if you know of any places or if someone who's watching or listening to this knows where I can find those crossover issues that Bobby and I spoke about last week about Superman crossing over with He-Man, please let me know because I want to read those really badly.
Yeah, because
So,
I don't know if they ever put those in trade.
yeah, I don't think they did either. So if anyone has any information on that, let me know in the comments or let me know in the DMs. Just throwing that out there as a for instance. I asked somebody who works at a comic book store in the great state of, I think it's in Tennessee. He says they don't have them at this time, but that doesn't mean I can't stop asking. I'm going to keep
Right.
asking because I want to know where they are. So if anyone knows where they are, please let us know where Superman crosses over with He-Man.
I just looked at the DC Comics Presents where they meet for the first time,
Yes.
and you can get it on eBay right now for $749.99.
Do I look like a millionaire to you? No.
No.
I can't afford that. But if anyone knows a less expensive iteration of the comics featuring Superman and He-Man, please let me know because I am not spending $750 on one comic.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not that rich and I'm not that desperate. So I'm just saying.
And this particular one was slabbed anyway, so you wouldn't be able to read it. So
yeah, I don't want a slab copy. I want to read it.
I've never understood the
slab
mentality.
Getting comics graded and slabbed. You mean?
If I buy them, I read them.
All right. Well, here's the fun.
I'm not a collector because of what they're worth. I
No,
buy
of
what
course.
I want to read. Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing about that. It's funny you mentioned this because I actually do have a few comics that are slabbed. One I got from the original writer himself because it's an indie title. It's not one of the major, Marvel DC titles or Vertigo for that or whatever it is for that matter. But the other one I got that was I asked a friend of mine to look for this and get it signed so I can get it slabbed because I already have it in trade paperback form. Is Paul Kupperberg's run of Supergirl?
Yes, that's a good run.
So I had him find. I had him. Yeah, I had him find issue number 1 when he was at Terrificon in the state of Connecticut, which is a big comic book show in the U.S. Terrificon in Connecticut, and he went there. He found the first issue. He took it over to Paul's table. He had Paul sign it, and then he took it over to the people who do CGC, grading or whatever. He has a connection with. It's called comics collectibles. I forget the name of it. Sorry, Jeff, if I'm saying the name, but he took it over to those guys, and then they got it graded and slabbed for me, and it came out to be, I believe, a 7.5. So for my first comic, I'm like, hey, I got a C+. I'll take it.
Plus, you can still read that because you've got the trade.
I have the trade paperback. Yeah, I have both volumes. It's 2 volumes. It's volume 1 and volume 2. So I have the complete run that Paul Kupperberg wrote for Supergirl. Back in 83, 84, I want to say.
Yes, I was
84, 85. It was one of the two.
I was in middle school when those came out. So yes,
that was
the reason I know that.
The reason you know this.
The reason I remember that. I had a science teacher that had a wall of comics in the class.
Get out of here.
And on test day, if you finished your test, you get up and read a comic book while you're waiting on everybody else to finish taking the test.
And you read Supergirl.
And she had Supergirl number 1, 2, and 3, I think, on the rack. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's great. That's the kind of teachers that we need in America right now. People who understand that you can still read a comic and get something from it, and it enhances the child's understanding of reading materials.
And I had never heard of Supergirl at that point. I knew
you
who
didn't.
Superman was,
but you didn't know who Supergirl.
But I didn't know there was like at that point in time. My Superman knowledge
was limited.
Super Friends and the George Reeve black and white.
Yeah, the original TV show.
The original TV show. That's what I knew about Superman. So, so it was a nice eye opener, and I discovered 2 or 3 different types of books there that I had not.
And that was a great
heard of before. Yeah.
That was a great run too of Supergirl. So if you ever get a chance to read Paul Kupperberg's iteration of Supergirl from the, I believe it's the mid '80s, please check it out because it is darn good.
Fantastic writer. I enjoyed Paul's work.
And
I got to work with him once. That
did
was
you?
pretty cool.
When was this?
We co-wrote a couple of years ago
Mm-hmm.
a Kolchak the Night Stalker.
Oh, the Night Stalker.
Story.
Yeah.
He had started it and for whatever reason had to kind of step away. But he had a plot and he had started it. And so I went in and finished the story so that we kind of co-wrote it together. I didn't talk to him until after, but yeah, it was but yeah, we co-wrote one where Kolchak meets a character called the Phoenix, who was a character from like a short-lived TV show in the 80s, I think like lasted 6 episodes. So
wow. For those of you who are unfamiliar, who exactly is Kolchak the Night Stalker? Because I'm not very familiar with this character. What exactly is his deal? What's his superpower if he has any? Who is this guy?
Kolchak was a reporter. He worked for a newspaper. The TV show was set in the 70s. He wore like it was Darren McGavin played Carl Kolchak. But he worked for the newspaper and he wore like this hat and striped, funky looking jacket. Always had a camera on a chain around his neck. And he would get involved with supernatural type cases. And no one ever believed him, but he had all this proof. And, of course, proof would get destroyed or people would think he was a kook. And the Night Stalker, there was a book and a TV movie that came out called The Night Stalker, where it's him with a vampire. It's a vampire story. It was a success. They followed it up with another TV movie, and then he got a TV series. And it lasted 1 season. It's really fun. It's supernatural type horror, but there's also a good bit of campiness to it, some fun to it. Chris Carter, who created the X-Files, has cited Kolchak as his inspiration for creating the X-Files. To the point where they had Darren McGavin on the X-Files. He couldn't play Kolchak, but he played a Kolchak-esque type guy. And so Carl Kolchak has had a niche following for 50 years now. Just a couple of years ago was the 50th anniversary. So I guess 53 years now. Because I did a story for the 50th anniversary hardcover collection they did of comics and short stories. So I got to write a short story that was set during his time before the TV show, because there's a timeline of where he was in what years. And so I wrote a story of when he was a war correspondent in Vietnam. And so I wrote a short story with that, where he runs afoul of some Vietnamese folklore come to life, which was a lot of fun.
Wow.
I also wrote my dad into that story, not by name, but if you know if you know my dad, you know it's my dad. My dad was a bus driver or a truck driver. He drove trucks, cars, buses, he would pick up VIPs, he would drive cargo, he would drive troops. He did all that. And he had told this story years ago, not even to me. He was just telling it and I was there to hear it. And it stuck with me, where he was driving a bus. They're on the road and there's soldiers in the back of the bus, and the road starts getting shelled. And so the only way to not get hit, he takes the bus off the road, and and at that point, there's ditches on both sides, so the bus kind of rolls, but everybody's fine. They get out, they're good. And so in my story, Carl Kolchak is on that bus interviewing the soldiers. And then after the bus goes off the side of the road and they get out of the bus and they're taking fire and all this stuff, Kolchak falls down the hill, and that's where the weird stuff happens. But yeah, so I put him in that real situation. And my dad thought it was pretty cool. I don't call him out by name or anything, but when I told him about it, he knew exactly who that guy was.
Jeez. Okay, all right. So it's a bit of an X-Files type
Yes,
character
so yes,
slash
definitely X Files ish.
premise.
Yes, but because he
Mm,
was always getting evidence, and it was one of those things where, oh, I got pictures, but then the camera gets destroyed, or you know,
mm.
there's always something at the end of it, because back in those days, TV didn't continue episode; it was episodic, and so at the beginning of the next episode, he had to be around people that didn't believe monsters exist, so his proof could never survive the end of the episode. But
Oh.
they were really good, and Darren McGavin is fantastic in it. Fantastic actor. He is really great in it, and so it has cultivated this niche audience. And so I've got to write him twice now. Yeah, twice, and
Twice.
because I did the one with Paul, and then I did the story for the 50th anniversary hardcover, which is that the short stories from the hardcover are being collected in a trade paperback, which will come out sometime into 2025. So I know those will come out there. The book is called Eras, and so it'll look at Kolchak at different eras in short story form. Me and a bunch of other writers. So that's pretty cool.
Wow, lots of plans for this character moving
Yeah,
forward.
and
That's
they're
for
still
sure.
putting out. And the previous publisher that had the license did a lot of
Hmm.
novels.
Hmm.
The new publisher that has the license is doing novels. So I mean, there's other writers that are still bringing Kolchak to life.
Really?
Yes, so there's a
Wow.
lot of cool stuff out there with Kolchak.
Hmm. That is. It's very interesting.
And I
I gotta say that.
believe you can't watch the movie streaming, but the
Hmm.
series I think is on NBC.com. I think you can watch the series that way. They're very grainy, but I think they haven't been remastered or anything. And I know there were DVD releases. My buddy Mark Maddox did the DVD cover for a recent release of the series.
Oh.
So yeah, so you can find them. They're not hard to find. Yeah.
Okay, and that Kolchak, the Night Stalker, the anthology that you had a story more recently that's going to be turned into trade paperback. Where is that from? Where
Yeah.
can we find
Well,
that?
the hardcover has sold out. It's been out a few years now, and so
Oh,
the
geez.
what the publisher did was they did a comic, like a
Hmm.
comic
Hmm.
collection,
Hmm.
and then they did a Kickstarter to raise the money,
Oh,
and
raise the
then
funds.
it went so far over budget. They said, well, we're going to do a hardcover, and then it went up again, and they're like, okay, we're going to add stuff to just the hardcover, and so me and several other writers were hired to do
Hmm.
short stories that were only in the hardcover, which is now sold out. So they're going to release a trade with just those short stories in it, because I think you can still get the comic trade of the 50th anniversary. The hardcovers are just gone, because I think
Mm.
it was more of a limited thing. But yeah,
Jeez.
so the short stories will be coming out, and so it's the same short story that
Right.
was in the 50th. Yeah, it's just in another
Mm.
format to have it.
Mm.
So yeah, it was
All
fun. It
right.
was really
All right.
cool.
All right. Maybe I'll have to pick that up, learn more about this character because this is new to me. I mean, I've seen you post about it over the years. I
Hmm.
just don't really know much. I'm
Yeah.
like Kojak. Is
Well,
that the same thing as Kojak, the guy with
yeah.
the
Well,
lollipop, or am I thinking of something else?
yeah, it's something different. If you want to see the cover to the upcoming trade, if you go
Mm-hmm.
to bobbynash.com under the coming soon tab,
Mm-hmm.
I have the cover there. So if you want to look at it, if anyone wants to look at it, they can go there and see it.
Spoilers,
So
as one
yeah.
might say. Just saying. Hello, sweetie. Sorry, that's another fandom that we don't talk about. But anyway, it's a big fandom. I'm just not a part of it. I respect it,
Ah,
but that doesn't mean I'm a part of it. I just know
yeah.
certain things because certain things pop up at conventions wherever I
I
go.
used
Especially when
to.
Alex Kingston walks into a room, then you really know what's up.
Yes,
So,
I used to be on a podcast where we reviewed episodes, and so
oh
yeah, we
really?
talked about. So
Uh,
I am a fan of the. I first discovered that when I was a kid back in the
yeah, the one they
early
call
'80s,
Doctor Who.
and
Yeah,
yeah, um,
yeah, that doctor
yeah,
and that TARDIS. Hence the reason you
because
got a giant TARDIS behind you.
exactly, yeah, because then well, and I set that there. I did a podcast last week about Doctor Who, so I set that there as the backdrop and just haven't moved.
Hey, keep it there, man. It's a nice
But
looking TARDIS
yeah, I've got one over there too, that you can't
on the
see.
on
But
the
yeah,
on the other side of the
um,
studio.
yes, the one over there is a little larger. It's actually a
Okay.
cookie jar. The lid opens up. It's a cookie jar.
Okay. Well, make sure you don't get your hand caught in the
Yeah.
cookie jar.
Yeah.
Got your hand caught in the
But
cookie
when you
jar.
open it up, it makes the noise. When you open.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Mm,
So, but yeah,
interesting.
I dig that stuff. That's I discovered that when I was a kid. The only way to watch Doctor Who here in the States, PBS aired it on the weekends as movies because most Doctor Who in those days were 4-parters,
Mhm.
4 half-hour shows. And they would end on cliffhangers. Well, here they would just cut out the cliffhanger and play it as if it was a movie.
2-hour movie.
Yeah, so that's how I discovered them here because you couldn't, back in the Stone Age there we couldn't watch stuff from Britain.
Back in the silent era. No, I'm kidding.
There was no way to get that stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not like now where you can watch almost anything. Like I remember it was a big deal because even as much as the Matt Smith era and the David Tennant era, it aired over there before it aired here. I mean, it was hours, it aired earlier in the day there than it did here. And as I understand it, so many people were pirating it instead of waiting that the BBC worked with Sci-Fi or BBC America or wherever it was at that time. And they aired on both here at the same time as it did over there. Now, it took longer here because we had commercials and they don't. So, but they would start at the same time. So, yeah, that became a thing.
I did not know that. That's another fascinating thing I'm learning. See, this is the thing. This is why we have well-rounded, knowledgeable guests on these programs because I don't know half of what I'm doing. So when I have a guest in here like Bobby Nash who knows everything because he's been around the block a lot longer than me, it's like you just add so much to the festivities, which, by the way, this is FreeWheeling Fridays during the holiday season here on the Madness Comic Network. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you're joining this live or on a replay, thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions for Bobby Nash or myself regarding pop culture or the things we obsess about collecting or reading or putting together in our own itty-bitty little minds, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And thank you to everybody who has chimed in thus far, which includes Pops and Woody back here.
Well, and it's like sitting down to do this, like I never thought we'd be talking about Kolchak and Doctor Who. Just like last week, I didn't expect us to go on this 10-minute thing about Jaws, which was really cool, but it's totally unexpected.
I know, right? I mean, this is why we need a bigger book, like you wrote on that bookmark, which I think I'm getting that one, which is great, which is fantastic. I can't wait to get that and give it to a friend of mine. Or we're going to need a bigger boat. So, it works both ways. They drew first bookmark, not me. That's a Rambo quote, but it's twisted just a little bit, because if you're a Rambo fan, you know where I'm going with this. Which, oddly enough, I don't know if this is on the schedule or not. I have to double check and see if this is going to happen precisely, but Rambo First Blood Part 2 turns 40 next year. Do you like Rambo First Blood Part 2? Do you like the sequels at all?
I've seen it. I don't remember much about it. I know I've seen all of them. The only one I've seen more than once is the first one. I have seen all the others. They miss something that's in that first one. That there's something about that first one that's really, and I'm a big nut for anything that happens outdoors like that. In nature, in the mountains, in the woods. I'm just a nut for stories that take place in those locales. I don't know why. I don't know what started it, but I love those. So seeing them chasing him through the gorge and up the hills and in the mountain and through, I just dig all that. I love it as a location for stories to happen. So
that's
but I think it had more. There's more story, I think, in the first one, and the first one's based on a novel.
It is David Morrell, yeah,
David Morrell.
Yeah, I remember.
The rest of them, I don't think are. I think are just, were Stallone,
Hollywood's
Rambo kind of turns.
Yeah,
back.
Hollywood's own continuation of the character.
Yeah, right. He kind of becomes just another a regular action guy.
Yeah, an action hero
and
guy.
He's not that in the first one. I mean, he is, but he's not.
Right. Because you get to see his PTSD.
Right. Right.
And everything else that goes with it.
I think he was a more rounded character as a result.
In
I
First
do
Blood.
think not the last one. I didn't care as much for the last one. The Last Blood, number 6.
It was Rambo. No, it was Rambo 5, Last Blood.
Last one. Okay, fine. I didn't care for that one as much. It didn't feel like Rambo.
Oh.
But the one before that, which was uber violent.
Yeah, Rambo 4. Yeah.
I really liked that one.
A lot of people do. A lot of people do.
I thought, well, it almost felt like more like Rambo. He was the guy trying to escape his past, escape the conflicts, escape all that stuff, and he gets pulled back in. Where I think the second and third one just kind of gloss over that, and it's like, okay, back to war. But that fourth one, it's so violent,
very violent,
that I think that nails home the horror of it. Like the second and third one, they kind of it's kind of that, like you said, that Hollywood action, almost cartoony violence.
I mean,
we're blowing shit up and we're killing people and all that, but it doesn't feel like there's consequences to it. Like I do feel like in the fourth one, as he's doing all this, you can see the toll it's taking on the character for doing all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not personally a fan of Rambo 4. It was way too violent for me. I couldn't really dig it. I mean, there were parts that I liked, with him dealing with the trauma, and then at the end of the movie, he goes back home and he's trying to rebuild his life and all that stuff. So I get that, but it's just like, this violence is a little too much for me, man. It's getting a little hot under the collar back here for me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go back and watch Rambo First Blood Part 2 and Rambo 3.
I also think, too, they might have been inspired by, because the way the action is shot feels very reminiscent of how, like, Saving Private Ryan, the opening, that is, which is also
World War II. Yeah, the events
very
of
brutal.
war. Very brutal.
Yeah, very brutal, very visceral.
Tom Hanks says one thing. He says, "I'll see you on the beach," and there's really nobody on the beach except blood and guts. So
and so there's a. I love the way they filmed those. It's not stuff I can watch all the time. It's not an easy watch.
It really isn't, Bobby.
Yeah.
It's not.
So,
which is why I've only seen Saving Private Ryan once.
Yeah, and when, in terms of, like, I think the reason I like the first Rambo movie the best is because it is more about the character of John Rambo dealing with everything he's dealing with, as opposed to the others, which are more action based and plot based. I mean, the character's in there, but it's, when you boil it down to it, it's more, I remember him being chased by helicopters and shooting down a helicopter and shooting the one guy with the bow and arrow with the explosive on it. That's what I remember about those movies. Whereas the first one, I remember the PTSD and dealing with everything.
And the speech at the end about how nothing is over.
Yeah, how he's breaking down, and how, and dealing with Troutman. Yeah, the speech to Troutman there at the end is just amazing.
I rewatched it not too long ago. It's pretty good. Yeah, and I finished watching Rambo First Blood Part 2 not too long ago. Now I'm in the process of rewatching Rambo 3. So I'm about 15 minutes into that. So I'm in the part where Troutman tries to recruit him for that mission overseas in Afghanistan.
And the third one, like, something happens to Troutman and
he gets kidnapped. Yeah.
Troutman.
He has to go to Afghanistan and rescue him from Soviet troops. Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe he's on a camel and, like, fighting.
Well, he's on a horse. He's on a horse.
Yeah.
Apes on a horse, Bobby. Apes on a horse. It's Rambo on a horse.
Yeah. But the book, I've read the book. I read the book a long time ago too. And the book is a little different. Like, he dies at the end of the book.
Yeah. It's been discussed. That part of the book, and as well as many other aspects of David Morrell's book, First Blood, has been discussed on the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast, led by L.S. Guzdich and Nathaniel. Am I saying his name right? Nathaniel, Emmanuel, something like that. But it's two gentlemen that run this Men's Adventure Fiction podcast, which you can find on YouTube. It's available on all podcasting platforms, where they talk about specifically the genre of men's adventure fiction in both the books, the movies, the TV series, and things like that. And it's a really fascinating podcast. So if you ever get a chance to check out the Men's Adventure Fiction podcast on your favorite platform, please feel free to do so, because one of the co-hosts of that show is going to be on And I Quote with us in the new year of 2025.
And tell them Ryan sent you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, tell them that Bobby, when you go listen to it, or if you comment on one of their videos, say, "Hey, Ryan from Anti-Quote Channel
Yeah.
sent me here." So,
And as I understand it, when they filmed the movie, they did originally film it with him dying.
there was an
I,
alternate ending. Yeah.
yeah, there isn't. I mean, you can see footage of him
Yeah,
dying.
it's on YouTube. They posted the
Yeah.
alternate ending on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I haven't watched yet, but I do want to watch it. I want to see what that ending would have been like.
It is
But
weird how often that happens too. I remember, like the first Lethal Weapon was supposed to end up with him dying, or the second one of them was
really,
supposed, Riggs was supposed to get killed, and like I think if memory serves, I could be wrong. If memory serves, at the original ending of the first one, he leaves.
yeah,
He's just gone, and that was it.
he just
And they did
leaves.
the sequel, and he's supposed to die. So, like, if you see them there at the end of it, where he's been shot and stabbed, and he's laying there in Danny Glover's
Jeez.
arms. Originally, he was supposed to die, and that was going to be the end of it.
Well, good thing
And then,
Yeah, I was gonna say good thing he didn't die, because otherwise
yeah,
he would have gotten Lethal Weapon 3.
yeah, somebody up there goes, "Wait a minute,
You can't have one without the other, right?
this is like printing money, you know?"
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta keep making these things.
because man, that was the era too. Because I was in high school again when, Die Hard and Lethal Weapons and all these things
Christmas
came out,
movies,
man.
yeah, holiday movies.
But they were cultural phenomenons at the time.
Oh, I didn't know
I
that.
mean, they were discussed
A
ad
lot
nauseum.
at school. Yeah.
Because before those we still had action movies, but we didn't have action movies quite like those.
Oh, okay, and then you
Like
had
that.
the combination of two different cops from two different walks of
Yeah,
life, and you also had Rico and Tubbs
yeah.
from
So like
or
certainly
Crockett and Tubbs. Why do I keep thinking Rico? I'm such an idiot. But it's
well,
Crockett because he's had so many aliases.
Tubbs' name was Rico, so it was Rico Tubbs.
Right, but what I meant to say was
Yeah,
Crockett and Tubbs from
yeah.
Miami Vice was a huge influence in the 80s, and it's
Well,
still being felt to this
yeah.
day.
Well, definitely the buddy cop, comedy drama
Subgenre.
kind of really took off. I mean, we had examples of it before that, obviously. I mean, Butch and Sundance they weren't cops, but that was a buddy, action, movie. But yeah, Die Hard and Lethal Weapon were just so different enough that it kind of became their own kind of.
Yeah.
And then after that, the old joke in writing circles is after Die Hard, almost every action pitch was, it's Die Hard on a bus, it's Die Hard on a boat, it's
Die Hard on a plane.
Yeah, and so it kind of becomes that thing.
Yeah,
that
Die Hard on a cruise ship.
Yeah, that locking them
whatever.
into a small thing to have So it was a big deal at the time, and yeah,
I mean, it doesn't bother me that people call Speed Die Hard on a Bus, because it's one of the greatest action movies ever made. I mean, a lot of people.
I think that's how they pitched it.
Well, a lot of people put Speed in like their top 5.
Yeah,
so,
it's a good one.
And there's no shame in that either, because Speed is one of the. And when I first saw that, I didn't see Speed until many years later. After it came out in '94, I didn't see it till like 3 years ago for the first time.
Wow,
First time ever,
gotcha.
Bobby. And I sat down and watched that, and I'm like, as soon as the movie was over, I thought to myself, why did I wait so long to see this? Because this is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life, period. It is so good. It moves from one spot to the other. There's really no slowing down with this thing. There's no wasted moment of film. There's no wasted moment of character development. Like, there is nothing to be left.
And it's the writers on it. Graham Yost wrote the original.
Same guy.
Who did Justified.
Yep, the same guy. It's the same guy.
And then Joss Whedon did a lot of the dialogue rewriting.
He did some of the rewrites.
And whatever you think about Joss Whedon, he is a hell of a writer.
Yeah.
And so the dialogue is really crisp and biting in this. But I love the concept. It's one of those concepts. Sometimes you watch a movie or read a book and somebody puts out a concept where I just go, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. It's one of the best. Speed is one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
And Speed's one of my all-time favorite movies, which we hope you, who may be watching and listening to this program known as FreeWheeling Fridays, part of the Madness Comic Network, are enjoying as well, because we're discussing all these great films that have come out in the 80s, 90s, or whatever it may have been. And we're here with indie author and artiste extraordinaire, Bobby Nash. He puts together door hangers and bookmarks if you want some for your kids, your family, your friends, for the holiday season or post-holiday season, whatever you want to do. Links are down in the description below where you can find those. It's BobbyNash.com is really all you need. So don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. If you're joining us live or what is known as a replay, thank you so much for doing so. And if you have any questions for Bobby or myself regarding pop culture or elements of pop culture, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. Hey, if Speed is one of your favorite movies or Die Hard is one of your favorite movies, let us know. Because, hey, you know what happened to me, Bobby, the other day? I got invited to the Christmas party by mistake. Who knew?
Who knew?
Exactly.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Yes.
You know?
And I didn't get to see Die Hard in the theater until a few years ago.
Right. You went to re-release of it.
Yeah. But I did see Speed opening weekend because by the '90s, I lived alone. I'd go to the movies whenever.
Okay, let me ask you this: what was the vibe when you went into the theater to see Speed? How excited were people watching that thing?
Oh, it was. As memory I recall, it was a packed house.
Oh yes.
And it was because I think I went like Friday right after work. I can't remember if that's one where buddies from work went with me or if I went by myself, but. Several of us would do that often with like certain movies. It's like, yeah, we're gonna, we just leave work on Friday and we would just go get it, catch a movie. And they were usually either action movies or sci-fi. Like we saw some alien movies that way, and Predators, that kind of stuff, or Speed, or action movies. And then I had another group of friends. There was the big into sci-fi, so we would go see the sci-fi movies usually on Saturday. So yeah, I miss doing that. I don't go to the movies near as much as I used to. I miss that.
Yeah, the world is not as it's not as innocent as it once was when we were kids back in the '80s, '90s, or even early 2000s. For some of us, I'm a bit younger than Bobby here. No offense,
but you can also, but now too, you can. If it's one of those movies you want to see, but you don't, oh my God, I've got to see it opening day, it'll be on in a month or two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, movies are so quick to hit streaming platforms within less than a month of them opening in theaters. I'm like, well, what's even the point of spending $20 on a movie ticket?
So it has to be something that, now, I'm a big, Marvel guy growing up to the MCU movies.
Which
that's
I
an
understand.
opening day thing. So I went and saw Deadpool and Wolverine. I went to the theater. I'm glad I did. Star Wars movies do the same thing, or Star Trek movies.
Did you enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine?
I love Deadpool and Wolverine. I thought it was funny in the right places. I thought it was brilliantly violent in the right places. Because these are two. Because I love the fact that if there's one that deserves to be violent, it's two guys who can't die fighting each other.
That's true.
So you can do things because neither one of them can die. You can stab each other in the heart and, lop off fingers and all that stuff. So, and then the cameos, the small roles,
there's a lot of legendary characters from earlier iterations of these characters show up.
Yeah.
I mean, Blade shows up, Gambit shows up, Elektra of all people shows up. Elektra, and I'm talking about OG Elektra from 2005. Jennifer freaking Garner, and I'm like, I don't know how they convinced
Chris Evans is
Human Torch.
Johnny
I think
Storm?
it was, or Johnny Storm. I'm like, how on earth could they have convinced? All these actors from all these different iterations, which a lot of people don't like these iterations of those characters. Some people frown upon them, but which I could understand to a bit of a degree. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, it's still a comic book movie.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be a direct adaptation.
Right.
Because if you want to read the comic, go to your store. Don't, you can't put too much pressure on a movie because a movie in itself is an adaptation. It doesn't mean it's a word for word, suit for suit, moment by moment iteration of that character. I mean, Elektra in 2005 is a lot different than what you get in the comics.
Right. And as much as I don't care for the Elektra movie, I had no problem with Jennifer Garner as Elektra.
And she's a great actress and a beautiful woman, and she kicked ass on Alias all those years.
She's really good. So I had, and I think that's plus enough time has passed that these things that, like, another good example is Star Wars. Remember how hated the prequels were?
Now everybody's coming around to loving them for some weird reason. I don't understand that either.
And it's like, well, they're not doing, and I thought, wait, they're not doing this thing you hated. It's weird, but we look through these things with that nostalgia tinted
glasses. Glasses, yeah.
And so it was great. The
Blade
surprise,
shows up.
that was the big surprise to me. Because
Yeah.
see, now, like, I know Jennifer Garner and Ryan Reynolds are buddies. They've done 2 or 3 movies together. She was just she did the one that he did before that where he's from the future and sees him, teams up with himself as a kid. I know she was in it, and the same director too that did Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay.
But I know famously he and Wesley Snipes did not get along. So seeing Wesley Snipes walk through that door was like a big moment. And the theater cheered when Jennifer Garner stepped out. The theater erupted when Wesley Snipes walked out. Yeah. And then, so seeing those guys, seeing that, you know, when he thinks that Chris Evans is Captain America, and he's like, oh my God, he's going to say it, he's going to say it, he's going to say it. And then he yells flame on, and the audience just goes nuts. But, you know, so it's one of those things. And so there's a lot of nostalgia to it that makes you kind of love it. But I think if they hadn't had interesting stuff around the nostalgia, it might not have worked as well. But I liked the rest of the movie as well. So.
No, I understand that. I haven't seen the movie all the way through, but I do know it's available now on Disney Plus. # not sponsor. But I'm not really a Deadpool fan, so I can't do it. I can't sit down and watch it. But I will say, I've watched the cameo sequences. I've watched some of the one or two of the action sequences. I've seen Blade come back in a big way. Some mother effers are still trying to ice skate uphill line dropped, and people probably lost their minds. And I'm like, okay, this is good. I respect it. And you brought, like, I did not expect Elektra to be in this movie, like, at all, because it's like people frowned upon her so hard. And I'm like, look, was her movie terrible? Maybe, but I don't think it was all that bad considering what they had to work with at the time, because you had Terrence Stamp's Stick, you had Goran Visnjic, who was coming on his ER fame at the time. Goran Visnjic as, you know, Dr. What's his name? Eli, not Eli. What's it? Oh God, I forget.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I
but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. He's a great actor. He's a good doctor on ER. I watched him all his years, respectively. But you see all these people on the screen. I'm like, you know what? I mean, this movie's not good, but it's not the worst thing I've seen in my life. I mean, I've seen worse movies than Elektra. Heck, I've even seen worse movies than Daredevil. Yeah. Okay, with Ben and I'm talking about Ben Affleck's iteration. I'm not talking about Charlie Cox, because Charlie Cox is the man.
Yeah. Well, I think too. Sometimes we as the audience,
puts too much pressure on these things.
They don't like something, not because it's bad, but it's not what they were expecting. I hear that a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't meet their expectations.
I wanted this from a Superman movie, but that's not what they gave you. So you don't like it or not like it based on what's there. A lot of people kind of go, oh, they're not doing the storyline I want. I don't care, But I'm kind of like you. I don't care for Deadpool in the comics.
Yeah,
I do not care for the Deadpool comics, but the movies, and I give a lot of that credit to Ryan Reynolds. He makes me like him.
Well, I think it's fair to say Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. He just was.
Agreed.
You know, some actors or actresses were born to play certain roles. Look at Hugh Jackman. He was born to play Wolverine for the last 25 freaking years of his own life.
He's going to be, well, this, you may not know this one, but until he's 90. That's like in the Deadpool movie, like Deadpool tells him, they're going to have you doing this until you're 90.
And I don't think Hugh Jackman's going to mind, because he seems to be enjoying himself, right? He said Logan was his last one, but then they paid him a bucket load of cash and he came back.
Well, and you have to run across there. Like, I've seen him in interviews. Sometimes getting ready to play Wolverine is rough on him because, he's not getting younger.
Yeah, even though some people accuse him of having a reverse Benjamin Button thing going on, but whatever.
But I've heard him talk about what it takes to get into Wolverine shape.
It's a lot.
And it's not easy, and it really does a number on him after. He said it's really not healthy what he does, all that he's doing, but it's but what can you do? But
yeah, he's doing his best.
Yeah, but I enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was fun.
Yeah,
I did watch it in the theater, and I have watched it when it hit Disney Plus. So I've seen it twice. So
which is fair. I mean, you're a Marvel fan.
Yeah, I'm a Marvel guy. I like a lot of the characters. Even the DC stuff. The DC movies haven't wowed me as much
Not even Man of
Um,
Steel didn't wow you?
I did not care for Man of Steel.
Wow.
I think Henry Cavill.
Okay.
I think Henry Cavill would be an excellent Superman.
He just got the raw end of the stick.
I have yet to see him in given a role that acts like Superman. To me, that is, he is not, So again, but it's one of those things. They're not giving me what I,
No, it's okay. You and I are in two different camps. It's all right.
I didn't care for much of the Snyder stuff. It wasn't for me.
You mean the Zack Snyderverse? Yeah. I get it. It was a very divisive time for DC fans for sure. No matter how you want to talk about it. I mean, Man of Steel, I freaking love that movie. I saw it 5 times in the theater. I think Henry Cavill is my favorite and best, movie version or iteration, I should say, version of Superman I've ever seen. But that's just because I'm from a different generation and because I see things differently than most people do, which is fine.
Well, and we kind of, with a lot of fandoms, it's the one we're introduced to is kind of our blueprint for it, So I grew up with the Superman who was nice and friendly and smiled a lot and, went out and saved people and wasn't the let them die kind of guy, and so like that, because that scene where he just lets Pa Kent die, I was done at that point. I mean, I stuck through the whole movie, but I was pretty much done at that point because that is just the antithesis of the Superman that I grew up with, that I've known for decades.
I get it.
And a guy with super speed, that should not have. There were other options.
You should have gone to Plan B, Clark.
I get
it.
It's not. It just wasn't for me. I don't knock anybody that liked it. Just wasn't. It was, and I watched them all.
Yeah, I was going to say, try not to take too many friendship points away from me.
Yeah, because I watched Superman, Batman
v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Suicide Squad.
I did. The first Suicide Squad had some moments. They all had moments. I didn't care for the first Suicide Squad.
No.
It was okay.
Yeah, I liked it.
I saw it once. I never need to see it again.
That's fair.
The second one I absolutely loved.
Yeah, it's because it's James Gunn.
Well, and it had
and
heart.
It's different. It wasn't as dark.
Yeah, excuse me. It wasn't as dark and.
It was different. There were a lot more characters.
I've seen both versions of the Justice League movie, and I did not like either one of them. So they just weren't. They weren't for me.
It's all good. It's an acquired taste. It's like 31 flavors. Some flavors work, some flavors don't, and that's okay. It's all right. I'm a Man of Steel defender. I'll die on the hill.
That's okay. I mean, if you like it,
and I love Superman, and I love that character, and I love Henry Cavill's iteration of the character. It's just too bad he never got any sequels because the ones he was in don't count. So
I would have loved to have seen Henry Cavill, as Superman, with a better story.
Yes, with a better story given to him. I understand that.
Right, they did not give him enough
to
do. With.
Yeah, they didn't give him much to do after the first one.
And so I think he absolutely looks the part. He's a fantastic actor. I think,
and he's admitted countless times how big of a fan he is of the character.
Yeah. The closest I got to feeling, oh my God, that's the closest to what I think of Superman, which is weird because it's in another movie that's not that good, is in that end scene in Black Adam.
Oh.
Where he walks out of the shadows.
Yeah, and confronts Black Adam,
But he's smiling and he's friendly and we should talk. And I was like, that feels more like Superman.
Okay.
Than the other movies that they had him in. So, and speaking of Cavill, I know you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine. You know he has a small cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
Oh, say it again. I'm sorry.
That Henry Cavill has a small cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, I think I may have seen. I just don't remember the scene.
Yes, he is. I guess if you don't mind me saying it, he is one of the he's the Wolverine of another universe.
Oh, jeez.
They call him the Cavalrine.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
That's a play on a couple of different words, which I understand,
but he and it's a quick scene. They show up, they see him from the back, and he's like, "Wow, you're like so much, bulkier and than the Wolverine I know." And he turns around and he's like, then they do the joke of like, holy shit, it's so. But yeah, it's a quick scene. He turns around, he's chomping on the big stogie, pops the claws, hits him, and that's the whole scene. But it was a good fun scene.
Okay. All right.
It's on YouTube too. There's a
yeah,
big montage
people
scene of
ripped.
him.
Yeah, people ripped and shot things.
There's a montage scene where he goes looking for Wolverines from the multiverses, and they take him. He goes through different iterations of Wolverine from different points in the comics, and all of them except the Henry Cavill scene, they actually pulled from comics. Like we see the short Wolverine, brown suit one, the one where he's lost his hand, the one where he's nailed to the X, and so there's a few of those, and they're all right out of comic scenes.
That's
because I'm a comic, I knew all those comic scenes. It was really it was one of those nostalgia thrills.
Yeah, you understood it.
Yeah.
Me personally, if I'm watching that, I'm like, what the frack is this?
Yeah, right. Yeah, those were definitely for comic fans,
like OG comic fans,
right? Because he even makes a point to, it's like, I feel like I'm walking through like a comic book,
what Logan, Hugh Jackman says that?
No, Deadpool, as he's trying. Yeah, but
that's funny.
Yeah, and so but it's one of those things. If you've never read the comics and knew those, you might be a little lost about why those are there. So yeah, it's definitely like I said, it's that nostalgia thing that's what really fuels a lot of that particular movie. So, but I know you wanted to talk about Superman.
Yeah, it's funny you guys. It's funny you segue into that. Once again, this is Freewheeling Fridays with your host Ryan of Anaco Channel and our guest of honor this week, because he's back for part 2, Bobby Nash, indie writer and artiste extraordinaire. Do not forget to like and share this with everyone you know. And if you're joining us live or what is known as a replay, thank you for doing that. And if you have any questions about any of the topics we've discussed thus far, or maybe something you want us to bring up in the future for a future episode, right, of Freewheeling Fridays, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. But Bobby and I have had a bit of a heated debate on who's the greatest super loop of all time. But according to Superman, the very first trailer for the Superman reboot / the new beginning of the DC Cinematic Universe, led by James Gunn, who directed all 3 of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy to be more specific. And he's directed films such as Slither and, a few other things here and there that have, maybe have stuck in your mind, maybe for reasons that shouldn't be talked about on the show. But we had the first trailer drop and originally this was going to be called Superman Legacy at one point. And then James Gunn went back on his word and said, you know what? I don't want to call it Superman Legacy. I don't want to call it that. You know what we're going to call it? Here's the new title of this movie. It's simply called Superman. Nothing else. There's no subtitles. There's no Roman numerals. There's no Superman Origins, Superman 3.0. Actually, this would be Superman 4.0, I think, at this point. But still, the new trailer for Superman dropped this week, starring David Corenswet, if I'm saying that right. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, right? She's in it. You got Nicholas Hoult. Speaking of Marvel, he played Beast in the rebooted X-Men trilogy, because the 4th one never happened. So he plays Lex Luthor, and you get a shot of him in this trailer. There's a lot of things going on in the Caesar trailer. So you get your first look at Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet. You get shots of him interacting with Lois Lane. You get shots of him getting it on with Lois Lane, and I do mean getting it on. Like when they kiss hard. Okay. Now, is that fast tracking things a little bit? I think so, but I have other thoughts about that as well. But I will say, a lot of other characters show up in this trailer. Not to give too much away, but if you want to see this trailer, it is on social media, so you can find it. It's 2 minutes, 20 seconds long. You get Krypto making his first live-action appearance in the history of a Superman movie. You get Mr. Terrific being thrown in there, making his first appearance. You get Hawkgirl, a different iteration of Hawkgirl is in this one, which, by the way, I watched Justice League and Justice League Unlimited as a youngin'. I'm cool with her being in this. And then little did we know, well, a lot of people knew this. Maybe some of you didn't. Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern shows up. I'm thinking, what? Yep. Guy Gardner, which is a different iteration of Green Lantern, which is like, who is he? The 3rd or 4th Green Lantern? Guy Gardner? I think he's the 4th one, isn't he?
Second one.
Oh, he was the second one. Okay, see, I am so off. So he's the second.
He was not a jerk in his original appearances. That came after Crisis.
Oh, well, thank you.
That was, yeah.
Thank you for explaining that, because I have read Crisis on Infinite Earths, the graphic novel, which you can find at your local comic book store. You might want to read that because I might fill in some gaps. But here's the thing. I don't know who David is. I don't know who Rachel Brosnahan. Have no idea who these
I've
people
never
are.
seen them before. Yeah.
I've never seen him in my entire life. But what makes me interested and just a little bit excited is what they're going to do with this. Because David, to me, is a fresh new face to Hollywood. Rachel Brosnahan's a fresh new face to me in Hollywood, even though I know these actors have probably done a couple of things before this. But this is a big deal. This is a new iteration of Superman, okay? And here's the thing about the trailer, that one of the things I did like about this trailer was clearly they're winking and nodding and paying tribute to John Williams. Clearly. Because most of this trailer is the score, but it's also a little bit of sounds-ish.
Like on like an electric guitar.
It's electric guitar paying tribute to John Williams is iconic, and I do mean iconic, theme of Superman from the original 78-80 movie starring the late great Christopher Reeve. By the way, Christopher Reeve, rest in peace. So I like the music. I think the actor looks really good in the suit, but here's one of the things I'm a little confused about. This doesn't look like an S to me at all. It looks like a draggedy, skiddly little doodle line. I don't know what they're trying to prove here. With this iteration of Superman. Is this the new 52 iteration of Superman? Is this Superman from Kingdom? Is it Kingdom Come?
It's the Kingdom Come is where it started. Although in that iteration it wasn't yellow and red, it was black and red.
Yeah, see I'm not very happy with how this logo looks, because it doesn't really look like Superman to me at all. It looks like a draggedy line that's trying to look like an S, but it doesn't really look like an S. Even though on my world it means hope. Well, here it's an S, but it doesn't look like an S.
I don't mind it's not the Superman logo, I know, but it's not bad. I don't hate it.
I'm not saying I necessarily hate it. I'm just confused by it.
You also didn't mention too, Metamorpho appears in.
I don't know who that is. I have no idea who that character. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, he's the guy in the white face that shows it's all wrinkly and he's.
To me, I thought that was Brainiac. I thought it was Brainiac.
Metamorpho.
Okay, well, I don't know who that is. So.
Yeah. So
is he one of Superman's? Is he one of Superman's biggest foes?
No, he's like a Justice Leaguer. He's part of the team with Guy Gardner and Hawk Girl and Mr. Terrific. He's on their team. This iteration of that team. They formed. There was a comic called The Terrifics, and those were the characters.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's what they're doing. I'm assuming that's what they're doing. I agree. I don't know the actors. I'm not familiar with the actors playing Lois and Clark. I tell you what really stood out to me, because when I look at superhero things, there's a difference between how do they look in the costume and how do they look when they're the civilian identity. And there's a scene in the trailer where Clark is walking toward the camera and this busy.
Yeah, he's playing the bumbling Clark in the newsroom.
But he's taller than everybody.
He's like 6'4", isn't he?
And so, but even with that, nothing makes me go, "Oh my God, that's Superman." And I love that. That was one of the things I loved about Michael Keaton as Batman.
Oh yeah.
I would hear people go, "Well, he doesn't, as Bruce Wayne, he doesn't look like the guy that would be Batman." I was like, "That's what you want." You don't want somebody to walk up and go, "Are you Batman?" And so I thought Michael Keaton played that well, because when he's playing Bruce Wayne, at no point do you ever look at him and go, "That guy could be Batman." Unlike when you had Val Kilmer playing Bruce Wayne, there was, you could see him and go, "Wow, that guy could be Batman." And so I thought Henry Cavill did that well too. When he's Clark, there's enough difference to where you look at Clark and you don't just immediately go, "That's Superman." And I think David Cornsweet has that. In the scenes where I see him as Clark, he's Clark. He's not Superman just out of costume. He's Clark. And I really appreciate that distinction, that they can play that up and do that well.
Yeah, I mean, the things I liked in this trailer were, Clark bumbling into the newsroom, his hair's all fidgety and frizzy, and it looks completely different from when he becomes Superman.
He's kind of hunched.
Yeah, he's kind of hunched
he's
a
not
little
like,
bit.
There's a great, sorry to go back to the Christopher Reeve one, but there's a great scene.
No, it's okay.
Is it the second one? Where he has decided that he is going to tell Lois.
Exactly. He's going to tell his secret.
he's in there and he's as Clark, he's kind of like, you know, hunched shoulders,
and then he stands up
and
straight and
he
takes
does
off his glasses.
he does this, and he gets like 4 inches taller, and then he changes his mind, and it's like it's 2 different people, and oh my God, that is just one of those things. I thought he was fantastic. In that changing of that, I mean, before our eyes. And I see that just in this trailer with him, and I'm hoping that filters through the whole movie. He is, you know, he can change that. You know, Crypto was a big, you know, I thought Crypto was cool. We've never seen a live action Crypto.
Never seen it, and he was fine for the scene he was in, because clearly because Superman, I don't know who's kicking his rear end, because he gets hit pretty bad and he lands in the middle of the Arctic. In the first shot of the trailer is him crashing to the ground, and he's bleeding, even though Batman asked him many years ago, "Tell me, do you bleed?" And then someone wrote in the comments, "Apparently, yes," which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. That is such an interesting way to start the trailer.
Yeah, with Superman getting his ass handed to him.
Because it's not what you were expecting. I wasn't expecting that.
No,
you're expecting something.
He's getting his rear end kicked. He's bashed in the Arctic.
Yeah. We're going to see, you know, almost every other Superman trailer has started with him on the farm or Krypton
flying into the air.
So seeing this, I'm already going like, wait, what's going on?
And then when he whistles,
yeah,
and you see the dust cloud come up, I'm like, wait a minute, is this who I think it is? And then when the dog comes out, I'm like, oh no, really? But here's the thing: if Crypto, this is one of my fears about this movie, and I know it's only one shot. I don't mind Crypto being in that first shot of him rescuing Clark and taking him to the Fortress of Solitude, or maybe taking him to a place where the sun is extra bright so he can get his, you know, powers back, because that happens sometimes. So I get that. But if Crypto's in every other scene, I'm gonna be like, okay, this is not a Superman movie. This is a 2-year-old movie. Okay, and I don't want that. Okay, so here's the thing. But here's the thing. If Crypto is in this, but he's in it an awful lot, I'm gonna have a problem. But if he's only in it for like 1 or 2 scenes, fine by me. It doesn't bother me, because I remember seeing Crypto in the Superboy animated series from the 60s, you know, from that Superpowers studio that put the animated shorts together. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. Crypto's a bit of a concern, but it's not a major concern. One of the concerns I do have, and this happens in the trailer too, there's a lot of characters in this movie, and that is not always a good thing when you're trying to focus on one character. So,
I'm not as concerned, like, just because I've seen what James Gunn has done before. He made a raccoon interesting.
True, but it wasn't a raccoon movie. It was an ensemble piece.
Sure. So I'm not concerned, and I don't think it's going to become the Crypto movie.
No. Crypto's fine in the scene he was in.
I also don't mind the other characters, because I understand, and this is what I'm thankful they're not doing. They're not doing another origin movie.
Right. He's already been Superman for a little bit. Maybe this is like Superman year 2, maybe Superman year 5. It could be Superman year 6.
Yeah. So,
you know,
I'm just thankful for that. So, but we don't know how much the other guys are going to be in it. So I'm curious. Just based on what I've seen from James Gunn so far, I'm not concerned. I loved the trailer. I thought the trailer was fun. I thought he really looked like Superman. You know, the scene, there's a lot of scenes where I don't know the context of the scenes. I mean, the world turning against Superman is kind of played, because they just did that in the Henry Cavill ones. The TV show did it for a bit. So I'm kind of getting tired of that storyline, but I don't know how they're going to portray it here, if that's a big part of the story, or I don't know. So I'm curious. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with it. I'm excited. It's the most excited I've been for a DC thing in a while. Yeah, because, you know, Superman's a tough nut for a lot of people. Not everybody gets him.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the TV show that just ended. I thought that Superman was great.
Superman and Lois.
You know, so there have been versions I've liked better than others. But I'm down for it. I'm excited. That's one I'll see in the theater, and yeah, release it now. I'm ready to go.
Release the trailer. Anyway,
I'll
it's
be
like
there in a minute. We'll go see. Yeah, we'll go catch
Exactly.
the movie.
Bobby and I will jump in our Batmobiles and
That's
we'll
right.
jet over there and we'll have a grandiose time. No, I'm trying to say is that if Bobby and I were living in the same town, the same neighborhood, 2 blocks away,
We would have seen movies together. Yes,
we would have gone in his car or my car. We would have carpooled over there together and we'd be like, "Yo, we're going to see this movie tonight. Let's go. I'll pick you up in
I
2
think,
minutes."
and it's fun seeing, especially big tentpole movies like this with buddies.
Well, as someone
in a
who's
crowd.
wearing, I'm
Yeah.
wearing this. Okay, this is Henry Cavill's iteration, which I'm a big fan of. I know some people aren't, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is, this is what I liked about the trailer. The music is paying tribute to John Williams, which I think is that's brilliant.
And that too, that music immediately tells you it's Superman, whether you like Superman or nothing.
Or you're not familiar with it or whatever, you know what you're getting. So, and the other thing, the music's good. I think that a young actor is playing Clark Kent and Lois Lane look fantastic. I think they are going to bring something different to this, which I'm hoping that they do. Like I said, my concern is you got Hawk Girls, you got Green Lanterns, you got Metamorphos, you got Lex Luthors. I mean, Lex Luthor we knew was going to be in this. We already knew that.
Sure. Yeah, you can't.
I mean, you can't have a Superman movie. It's kind of hard. I mean, you can make a Superman movie without Lex Luthor because they did it with General Zod in the first Man of Steel movie. But at the same time, like there are so many other villains from Superman's mythology that have yet to been tapped into live action that I want to see on a big screen. I would love to see a different iteration of Brainiac on the big screen. I'd like to see, maybe Lobo taking a stab at him. I mean, some of the other DC villains that could go against Superman and go toe to toe with him as become a, I mean, they were hinting at this, but we never really got it. Darkseid.
Well, and also
Darkseid would be a great opponent for Kal-El of Krypton.
And also this is just a teaser trailer. So
of
they're going to hit you with all the big stuff.
They're going to,
just like we talked about the Suicide Squad, the first one.
Same thing.
The trailers are full of Batman. Batman's in that movie maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes, maybe.
But he's all over that trailer like he's in a lot of it.
Yeah, so you're right. You're right.
Teaser trailers
and things flow.
The teaser trailer is meant to do two things: get you excited,
which I am a little bit,
and get people talking.
Believe me, when you look at the interwebs nowadays, Bobby boy, people have been talking about this trailer nonstop for 24, 48 hours straight.
So it's a successful trailer because that's what it is get people starting to talk and be hyped up for this movie. So because it's not just because they released the teaser trailer the day before they released a teaser for the teaser.
Which was 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
And so they're smartly in terms of marketing and promotion.
So far they are.
They are doing what
I think the poster came out the other day. The score to the theme came out the other day on YouTube from the composer or somebody like that. And I'm like, okay, they're getting the juices flowing because July's going to be here.
And now they've started. They'll start the viral marketing. I saw one yesterday. It's just a little video. It's Clark Kent holding files, and he like drops them. But he's not moving, but the camera is going around him. And as it goes around him, it turns back, and there he is in his Superman, and you can see him as both. And so there's 2 or 3 little videos I've seen that are already starting to do the viral stuff. Like there's one where Jimmy Olsen is doing his, like the camera's pointing at him, and he's got to do something. He says, "Hey, look at Superman," and he sets the phone down, and it's staring at Clark, and Clark's like, "What? Who? What?" And so they've already started some of that stuff, and so I suspect we'll see more of that. James Gunn is very much involved with social media, and I've seen him responding to a lot of people's questions. So there is a lot of that, especially on Threads. I see him on Threads a lot responding.
Oh, he's on Threads. Okay.
And I think he's on multiple ones, but he seems to be on that one the most.
Do you think he's on Blue Sky?
Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised.
You might want to look this up, guys.
Yeah, but I know he's answering people's questions.
Well, that's good.
And he's talking about...
That's respectful.
Like I saw one today. one group kept going on and on about he's wearing his underwear on the outside, and he's like, that's not underwear, right? Those are called
Well,
trunks. They're called trunks.
yeah, but that's another thing that kind of threw me off. It's like, do we really need the trunks again? Really? I mean, come on.
I think it looks better than without them. I thought without them looked weird.
I don't know. For me, I
Um,
think it looked better without the trunks. But then again, I
it's-
do respect both iterations of Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill's version
Mhm.
of the character. So we'll see what happens. Listen, like I
Yeah.
said, the actors look good in the role. The music sounds good because it's paying tribute to John, and we love John. We've always loved John. We're always going to love John Williams. Um, I like the look of Lex Luthor. I think Nicholas Hoult is going to be a good Lex Luthor. He can go evil. He can go dark. He's kind of displayed it here and there in other movies. I haven't seen too many of them, but
Yeah, he's
he
done a
can do.
lot. I mean,
He's capable, but
yeah.
he's capable. He's very capable.
Mhm.
He can do it. He looks good in the trailer. You see the Luthor Corp logo in the background of one of the shots, and I'm like, hey, I've seen that. That's familiar. And by the way, one of the other things I like about this trailer is when Lex Luthor's like turning around and he's like getting, because he sees him flying by and he's like pissed. He's like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker. And when the next shot is Superman punching his way out of a glass cage.
Mhm.
And when I saw that shot, I'm like, oh, that's Superman. Like that is something my homeboy would do.
The scene where he leaps in front of the little girl
Oh my
and
gosh.
shields her from the explosion.
That was a heck of a shot too.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good shot. I thought him protecting the little girl was great. I thought that
Yep.
was smart. That was smart right there. And the other thing is, like I said, one of my biggest concern overall with this movie, right, at least for right now, because all we have right now is a teaser trailer. I'll give it that. Trailer number 2 is going to tell me more personally. I think it's going to tell me a lot more personally. But what I will say is that there was a lot of characters in this, James. You got to keep the focus on Kal-El. I want to see the focus on Superman, not Green Lantern assembling his team with Hawkgirl, not Hawkgirl trying to recruit Kal-El of Krypton to her side of what's going on in her world of Thanagar or whatever. Sorry, I grew up watching Justice League, so I know a little bit about Hawkgirl. But what I will say, Hawkgirl looks good. Green Lantern looks cool, different. Like I said, this is a different iteration of the character than what I'm used to. Hawkgirl looks different than what I'm used to, but it's okay. It's fine. It doesn't bother me because there have been many different runs of the comics over the years, and I get that. By the way, the scene where Clark is on the farm with what looks like Jonathan Kent and he's consoling him or hugging him, I'm wondering if Jonathan's like losing the house or he's losing the farm, or maybe Clark's just saying, look, I know I'm going through a lot and you may fear for me, but I'm going to get through it. Or someone brought up an interesting point. Well, what if Ma Kent is dead?
That was my thought.
And I'm like, well, if you kill off Martha, I'm going to be pissed because you're kind of effing up the mythology because it's the dad who's supposed to die, not the mom.
It's been done both ways though over the years. I kind of love where I read Superman regularly was in the 80s after Crisis, where both of them were alive, where they were alive, and I loved them being alive. That's one of the things I thought was great about Smallville. The parents are there.
Yes.
The parents are part of life.
Great cast. Great cast.
I do like the actor playing Pa Kent, Jonathan Pruitt Taylor. I never heard him as an actor.
Oh wait, doesn't that name sound familiar?
He's done a lot of stuff. He's villain roles a lot.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
He did some Justified. He was in
Deadwood.
All
right. I get it.
He did some Alias. We've talked about Alias. Right?
Okay, Alias. He's good. So he's good. All right, I trust him then.
Plays bad guys a lot, but he's a really talented actor.
Okay, so he can play Pa Kent, no problem.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a different kind of Pa Kent because he's a little bit of a bigger guy,
and he's a lot older.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, he's younger than Kevin Costner.
Okay, but, I didn't know that, but okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I like the bit on the farm. But my first thought was his mom is either sick or has passed.
Yeah, he's like finding it out, and he's consoling Jonathan, saying, "Look, I know it's hard, but we're going to get through this as a family, or whatever." I don't know, but that was an interesting shot, and Jonathan's there, so I'm like, does mom die in this iteration, or is he just consoling the dad because he's losing the farm?
Yeah, and we only get a little bit of it, but Perry White is fine. I forget the actor's name. I just blanked on it. He's done a lot of stuff too. He was in the Jack Ryan series, and he's got that good grumpy what Perry White should be. That grumpy kind of.
In the teaser for the teaser of the teaser trailer, I saw a blonde-haired woman standing behind Lois. I'm thinking that's Cat Grant.
I suspect this as much as well. Yeah,
I think it's Cat Grant working at Daily Planet. And by the way, the Daily Planet looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the logo on the outside of the building looks. I think the globe at the top, because that's one of the first shots.
It reminds me of the one they used in the Christopher Reeve version, and like even the entrance. It kind of reminds me of that.
and it looks good.
And I think they shot both in Chicago where the other ones were in
All
Chicago.
right. Well,
So
hey, I think it looks good personally.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the building looks good. I think the
Mhm.
tech looks good. I think the people standing around the newsroom, it's hustling, it's bustling,
It feels
it's supposed
like a
to be busy.
newsroom.
It feels like an actual newsroom. So it looks good to me. I think the sets look good. The suit on David, I think, looks pretty good. Minus doesn't really look like it looks like a draggedy level. Whatever. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Maybe we'll find out why it looks that way. Maybe Kal-El will be like, well, my dad had trouble with his writing hand, so they had to draw it. No, I'm just kidding. But listen, at the end of the day, this is an interesting trailer. I am intrigued. I'm not 1,000% sold on this yet, but I'm intrigued because there are certain elements of this trailer that I did like. So we'll see where it goes. Listen, I'm a Superman fan through and through. I'm going to love Superman to the day I die, and even beyond the grave, Bobby. Let's be perfectly honest. That my love of Superman is never going to go away.
Well, what is your? I'm just out of curiosity. What is your history with Superman? Did you discover him through movies, TV, comics?
How about all three? No, I'm kidding.
Okay. I mean,
no,
you had what was your like?
joking.
I discovered him in cartoons.
Yeah, I discovered him. Well, no, I discovered him through the Christopher Reeve movies.
Okay,
that was the first time I saw him.
Yeah.
The first time I saw him was the Christopher Reeve movies because my parents, my brothers had it or whatever it was. So Superman 2, I think, was my first Superman movie I ever saw.
Okay.
So I got introduced to Superman through Superman 2, Kneel Before Zant, which, by the way, Terrence Stamp eats that shit up, man. He is so effing good.
And
so
we
Superman
had
2,
we hadn't seen a lot of superhero,
movies,
superhuman battles
at that point.
Right, because in Superman 1, he's not fighting.
No, he's spinning the Earth backwards.
Right.
So yeah, but what I'm saying is,
which was supposed to be the ending of number 2, not number 1. Have you ever seen that? There's a Donner cut. I don't know if you've ever seen the.
No, I've seen the Donner cut, but I didn't know that the spinning of the Earth was supposed to be in part.
It was supposed to be at the end of the second movie. Like,
okay,
yeah, because they went and reshot stuff after Richard Donner was fired.
Stop the presses! I did not know this. Okay, this is another fun fact.
So turning he saves Lois a different way, and they do the superhero battle. The Earth is, I mean, there's a lot of destruction, and he turns back time and basically undoes the 2 movies.
I see.
And so that was supposed to be the ending of the second movie. And then after he got fired, it became the ending of the first movie.
That is so freaking weird. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But anyway, so I was introduced to Superman originally through the Christopher Reeve movie. Then I was watching the 96 animated series on Kids WB with Tim Daly. So I watched that, and then I also watched a VHS tape of the Superpowers 6-episode collection of Superman the animated series from the 60s. This looks like a job for Superman. And then I watched the Max Fleischer cartoons on VHS. You know what I'm saying? So I watched a bunch of different iterations of Superman when I was growing up, but the one that really got me into Superman, the one that cemented my love of this character, and I think I've shared this with you before, Bobby, I don't know if I've told you this or not, was Smallville.
That's a good intro to it for a lot of people. The
TV series, and for those of you who are unfamiliar with this is Smallville that aired from 2001 to 2011, 218 episodes, 10 seasons, the longest running superhero related comic book show in the history of television, and for good reason. So I watched season 5, episode 12, which was episode 100, the Reckoning episode. So in episode 100, spoiler, so cover your ears. In episode 100, Reckoning, Clark loses his dad, Jonathan. Okay, which is true in the comics. This has happened in the comics. This has happened in the movies. So this is nothing really new. This is very familiar territory that DC and Warner Brothers Television is going up against here, right? So when Clark loses his dad, first of all, I bawled my eyes out. Second of all, I lost my biological father 6 weeks before I even saw that episode went on the air. So when I watched that, it hit me so hard and so fast. I'm like, you know what? I had no idea that this character was this relatable. No idea. I had no clue that this man who has the powers of, let's call it what it is. Let's call a spade here, Bobby. This guy has the powers of a Greek god. And he can do whatever. Nothing can really, I mean, yes, kryptonite stops him, but at the same time, like, who has access to that? Everybody? No. But when you lose someone you care about very deeply, that hits you. And it hits you pretty damn hard. Whether you're an alien from another world or a human being from planet Earth, doesn't matter. Loss hits everybody in the feels and it hits you differently, right? But it
Mhm.
hits you. So when he loses his dad and you see Martha and Clark go into the funeral and she's Clark is helping her put on her necklace, and then they go to the funeral and then you hear the song I Grieve by Peter Gabriel playing in the background during the funeral sequence of that. I was
Mhm.
all messed up and I said, okay, this character's relatable. I understand him. I get him. I respect him. And I want to I wanted to jump through my television and just give Clark a hug and say, look, man, I'm facing the exact same pain that you're going through right now. I know what you're doing. I know
I
what you're facing. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So when that episode was done, I said, you know what? If this is what Smallville as a show is, if this is what the character of Clark Kent is going to be presented as, and these are all the actors and actresses playing these roles, sign me up for more. So ever since season 5, episode 12, on January of 2006, I have been a massive Clark Kent / Superman fan. So much so that many years later, my friends took me to a comic book store for the very first time in 2017 on Batman Day of all days, and I got trade paperbacks. And the first trade paperback I got, one of the first ones I ever got, according to comic books, is DC's Kingdom Come.
Mm.
And I read Kingdom Come by Mark Waid and Alex Ross, if I remember correctly. And I read that graphic novel, Bobby, and I'm sure you've read this too. As soon as I was done reading that, it even further my cemented the love of the character. And the other thing was, what if Clark aged up? What if he was an older, bitter man? Like, what would he be like? Would he
Yeah.
still be Superman, or would he like retire? Would he quit? Would he, lose
Mhm.
Lois and like just not be able to continue? Like, what would happen if he got older?
Yeah.
And Kingdom Come is a great example of what you can do with a character, fast forwarding him 40 more years into the future. So the fact that I saw Smallville in 2006 and then 2017 rolls around and I actually start reading comics, because before television, there was this thing called comics. Okay. Comics were a big thing back in the day, Bobby. So, but because I think you were there for some of that. So it's like,
Well, still a big thing today. But
touche. But I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
when I read those and I watched that show, that made me,
Mhm.
and still to this day makes me a massive Superman fan, which is why I take Superman so seriously. When anyone tries to adapt it into a movie, it's like, okay, you better do this right, or you better
Mhm.
bring something new to the table that we haven't seen before, and you got to make it look good, because if you
Yeah.
don't, people are going to be pissed and they are going to let you know about it.
Yeah. I didn't start reading Superman comics. I'd read one or two. Like I picked up a couple of digests and little things like that. But
Mhm.
I knew the cartoons, I knew the TV shows, I knew the movies. I started reading comic books with Superman in them on a regular basis after I started reading DC during Crisis.
Mhm.
Before Crisis, really the only DC I was reading was the new Teen Titans
Mhm.
with Marv Wolfman and George Perez. That was pretty much the only DC I read until Crisis.
Oh,
And
Crisis. Okay.
I love the idea of, oh my God, here's everybody. This is a book with all the characters. I just love
Mhm.
that. I love the idea, and it was beautiful art, and But then after Crisis, DC restarted their line, and they brought in creators who I had read on Marvel books and was
Mhm.
fans of. So George Perez took over Wonder Woman.
Oh,
Frank Miller took over Batman
which was a big
Year
thing.
One.
Yeah.
And then John Byrne, who I was a big fan of on Fantastic
Mhm.
Four and Alpha
I've heard of
Flight,
John Byrne.
took over Superman.
Mhm.
And so I picked up that original 6-issue Man of Steel miniseries,
Oh yeah.
just his origin story, basically,
Mhm.
or his first year. And I just fell in love with the character. And they kind of toned him down. They weakened him up a little bit. He couldn't fly into space anymore without something to breathe with, or he wasn't moving planets like he used to. He was still very strong, but he just wasn't godlike as much as he had been before. So that was good. So that was kind of where I got into it, and I started reading the super titles. There were 3 of them, and I read those for a number of years. And even after Byrne left, the Dan Jurgens and Jerry Ordway and Roger Stern, all those guys kept it going, and fantastic reads. And I read it for, I think I got out of it after Superman died, and then after he came back was about the time I kind of my interest started drifting elsewhere. And so, but those are great. If you can ever find those, and there are trades for a lot of that, I highly recommend the John Byrne run. Just wonderful storytelling. I would also recommend Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale did a mini series that's in trade called Superman for All Seasons that I think you would like based on what you've said there. It's very much Superman in Smallville, dealing with stuff around crises, or however you say it, you know. But it's a very human, relatable story. And a lot of it deals with loss and him trying to make his way in the world. So there's some really good Superman stuff out there that, you know, you might enjoy.
So in other words, I got to spend more money I don't have on comics that I really want to read that I really can't afford.
Well, you don't have to. I'm just saying if you're looking,
Well,
those are good examples.
That's the thing. I'm a massive Superman fan, so you're basically convincing me by using your Jedi mind trick. It's like, Ryan, you have to read the John Byrne run. You have to read the Jeff Loeb or Tim Sale run or whatever.
They also did comics based on the Tim Daly animated series where he was
for sure. Yeah.
And those were fun. They also did little novels, little digest novels that were aimed more at younger readers that are fun out of that era, that are fun reads. They're quick reads. And you can find those for just a couple of bucks. I saw some in the comic shop yesterday. So there's stuff like that that's really fun because I love that animated series as well. It's one of my favorites. I love all that whole Batman, Superman, Justice League era.
Oh, are you kidding me? I mean, that's like peak television right there.
Yeah, and so all that stuff is good. That's fun. That's good Superman to watch and stuff. So it's
and I have Superman the animated series on DVD. I can't believe I just said that, but yes, I own it on DVD.
I do as well.
I have Justice League Unlimited, the complete series on Blu-ray, which is a bit hard to find. I don't have Justice League, but I do it because I actually like Justice League Unlimited more than Justice League, and it's nothing against Justice League. It's just that they expanded the characters and the storylines more so in Unlimited. And by the way, the fact that they threw in all these different characters, including Supergirl, in Justice League Unlimited, I'm like, oh my lord, look at all this DC history that I never heard of that I'm learning about in these 2 or 3 seasons that it was on. Because I'm looking at all these different characters and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, DC's library is insane.
I was hoping for a Supergirl spinoff.
I would have liked that too because I love Superman and I love the House of L. I love Supergirl.
That is probably my favorite version of Supergirl.
The one from Justice League Unlimited?
Unlimited, yeah.
Really?
She's in the Superman show too, same actor and everything.
Who was the voice actress? I forget her name.
Nicole Tom.
Ooh, she should have done more.
She was on. The only thing I know she did live action. I know she's probably done other stuff, but she was on The Nanny, the friend.
Oh yeah,
she was the oldest daughter.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but she did, and I just that's my favorite version of Supergirl. And
really,
and I thought teaming her up with Green Arrow
that was funny.
Was brilliant.
I thought it was funny. It was really cool
because they are complete opposites.
Yeah, they're complete opposites.
But it worked. And especially that first episode where they're together.
Yeah, and they're recruiting they're trying to get Green Arrow to join the league, and the Green Arrow wants nothing to do with him, right? Because he's his own vigilante. It's like, hey, really, I do things my own way.
Yeah, and she's really the thing that convinces him. It's like he's like, yeah, she's going to get herself killed. I should probably go and make sure that doesn't happen. And but it became this big brother little sister relationship that because we see them, they put them together a few times over the course of that series, and I thought they were perfect together.
I haven't seen the show in a while, so I'd have to go back and revisit it. But not that I'm against it, because I freaking love Justice League Unlimited. I mean, I like both Justice League and JLU, but JLU is to me is a better series than
it's a lot more fun. It's slightly. Plus, you get so much different.
Really different.
These different versions, these different characters. Like there's a great one. Anything with the question in it.
Oh my god!
Who was voiced?
I forget his name. Who was it? Who was the voice? Do you remember the voice?
Oh, it's shit.
Does anyone know in the comments?
He was Wayoon on DS9, and
I forget his name.
Jeffrey Combs.
Yes. So here's the thing: when he showed up in JLU, and I never heard of this character before, because like I said, I'm learning all this DC stuff through JLU. I learned a lot about DC history through JLU, or just the characters, I should say. When he shows up, and I'm like, ooh, this is like noir detective, like Dick Tracy types of, like, sign me up, man. I want to know more about this guy because like in the movie Dick Tracy, a man with no face.
He's one of those like
I'm in, man.
He's like a Steve Ditko 70s character.
Yeah, that's like an OG type character,
Yeah.
right? Like he's going way back.
But
So
I love Jeffrey Combs' performance
I think he was great.
as the Shadow. As the Shadow. Sorry, is the question.
Did you
He
just
was
say the
fantastic.
Shadow? That's
I
a different
did,
pulp
yeah.
character.
I'm tired. It's been a long day.
Hey,
But
look at
it's,
me. I've had a long day.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
but I thought he was great. I love the team ups. There's a great one called Double Date where it's him and the Huntress
Oh my god, I
doing one
remember
thing,
that. I
and
remember
then
that.
Green Arrow and
Supergirl
Black Canary or Black
or Black
Canary.
Canary. Yeah,
And so it's called Double Date because it's these two.
they're getting
and they're
frisky.
trying to stop things, but it's so there's a lot of really good stuff in that. That's
Yeah, and I hear the Superman cartoon from the '90s on Kids WB paid tribute to the John Byrne run of comics.
a little bit, yeah. So a lot of the stuff in there is because that was the and Lois and Clark, the live action one.
Yeah,
was
with Dean
very
Cain
much
and Terry Hatcher.
Yeah, that was very much based on
John Byrne?
the John Byrne
Really?
era.
Hmm.
Because Lex is the businessman. That was a Marv Wolfman thing that came up with Lex is the businessman.
Marv Wolfman, yeah.
Yeah, because John Byrne was writing 2 of the Superman books, and Marv Wolfman wrote the 3rd one.
Really?
And so Lex, as I understand it, Lex is owning a businessman instead of being a mad scientist.
I didn't know that.
Was a Marv Wolfman idea, and then they ran with it. And so so before Crisis, Lex Luthor was just a mad scientist out to rule the world. He was so the business thing that all came from the post-Crisis, and so Cat Grant stuff like that. It's all post-Crisis stuff, and so a lot of what's in Lois and Clark or the '80s Ruby Spears cartoon. And even part of the '90s animated series comes from that version. And I think right now it's pretty well established. Lex Luthor's a businessman.
He's a businessman. Yeah, it's funny because I remember a line in the first episode of the Tim Daly iteration, which is Superman the Animated Series from 1990. I want to say 1996. I think is when it debuted, or
That
somewhere
sounds
before.
right. It's in the '90s. Yeah,
It's in the. I think it's in the mid '90s. But anyway, there was a line where, and this is not the first episode, but like the second or third episode when he starts working at the Daily Planet. He puts together his Clark Kent disguise. You know what I mean? So he walks up to Lois Lane, gets to this, Luthor Corp or Lex Corp, media event late, and she says, "Hey, how did you get here so fast?" "Oh, I just flew." And I'm like, did you just give away one of your, you know what I mean? Like he throws in those little nuggets, those nuggets.
Well, and those shows, that was
creative
casting. They were great with casting.
Dana Delaney freaking Delaney. Are you like
Clancy Brown?
Oh
as
my
Lex
god,
Luthor.
He was born.
That is the voice that is in my head when I read.
When I read the comics, I'm the same way.
It is Clancy Brown,
great
voice talent.
Clancy.
I also liked that in that particular version, that Superman was a little compared to how he was in other things. He fought dirty. Like how many times did we see him fighting somebody? He picks up 2 cars and that's not what I was. But I loved it. I thought he was a very There's a couple of standout episodes. Like there's a great one called "The Death of Clark Kent," where Clark had stumbled onto a mystery, and he's trying to solve this mystery, and he is getting death threats as a result. And someone puts a bomb in Clark's car, and Clark is determined that he's going to solve this mystery as Clark. For his job for the Daily Planet. Well, anyway, somebody puts a bomb in his car, so his car blows up. So now, obviously, he's Superman, so he survives. But now, what does he do? How does he explain? Well, I didn't die and so Clark is basically dead. There's a funeral. Then Superman is trying to figure out who tried to kill Clark. Why? It's not a straight up superheroes. It's more of a mystery story. And then at the end, he comes up with, one of the many contrived ways he's explained how, he didn't die. But that's a fantastic, 22 minutes of television. And then there's and it's almost like a movie. There's the great 3-parter called World's Finest, where Superman and Batman team up. against Lex Luthor and the Joker, which is like an hour and a half. It's like a movie. It is.
Yeah,
I would put that over Batman v Superman every day of the week.
No. Between you and me and the people who are watching this. By the way, this is Freewheeling Fridays, brought to you by the Madness Comic Network on right now. Don't forget to like and share this with everyone you know. That to me is a tighter knit film. I mean, listen, I'll be honest. I do like Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the director's cut, the Ultimate Edition, because I rewatched it recently. It's still good, but the Batman Superman movie, those 3 episodes that were repackaged on DVD and labeled as the Batman Superman movie, is perfect.
Yeah,
because it's Lex Luthor, Joker, Mark Hamill, Clancy Brown going up against, Tim Daly and I believe Kevin Conroy, and it's like you're getting the best of all your worlds here. Because
plus the fight between Mercy and Harley in the background while Lex and the Joker are doing business, and Harley and Mercy are beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah,
it's just good stuff, and it's got this one great line at the end. They're in the plane, the bomb's going to go off. Batman leaps out and he grabs Harley to save her. The bombs go off. Joker's still in the plane blows up, and as they're falling, she yells, "Puddin'!"
I remember,
and he's like, by now he probably is.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I have that movie on DVD, to believe it or not. I do have the Batman Superman movie on DVD.
I do as well.
It's great. It's a good collector's item. It's good to have when you want to watch something great, which includes that. But we'll see.
It's good stuff. I love it. Yeah,
we will. But at the end of the day, when the sun goes down and the dust settles here, Bobby Nash, between you and me, we're going to find out on July 11th what this new iteration of Superman as a movie and as the start of the new era of the DC Cinematic Universe, led by James Gunn and his partners, is going to be. This trailer has me intrigued. I'm interested. Looking forward to seeing trailer number 2 to give us more of an idea of what this story is going to be. Who's going to be the main antagonists? Who may or may not be showing up? Or whatever the case may be. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have me interested. I'm not 100% sold yet, but we'll see.
Let's just say right now, let's come back here in July and we'll talk about it.
I think you and I are going to have a few more conversations before that, but yes, we will, because Bobby and I are such good friends. I don't think we want to wait until July to have our
sure, but in July we should come back and talk Superman.
I think we should. Because as a massive Superman fan that I am, and I want to see Superman succeed in all forms of media, whether it's the comics, the games, the words on a page, if there are books with Superman written on a page. I want to see where this goes. I'm curious. I'm not a James Gunn fan. I never have been, but I'm interested, because I like the looks of these 2 young actors playing Lois and Clark. I want to see where they take it. I want to see if this new guy is going to bring some good things to the character of Superman / Kal-El of Krypton, because that's what you got to do. And this is a very hard thing for filmmakers to do. You got to keep things familiar, but also bring something new to the table that we have not seen before, or just put a twist on it that we're going to respect and enjoy, which is not an easy thing to do for any filmmaker in the history of Hollywood. So listen, I wish everybody the best on this. I think the trailer was good, not great, because like I said, I have a lot of questions. I'm a bit curious. I just hope that the other characters who are thrown into this, I hope there aren't too many subplots. I hope there's not too many villains, and they don't overshadow the lead character. And the main focus of this movie is supposed to be Superman / Kal-El of Krypton / Clark Kent. Keep the focus on him. And as long as you do that, you and I are going to be, we're simpatico here. So in the meantime, I want to say thank you to everyone who is watching or listening to this episode of Freewheeling Fridays. Bobby, it has been a pleasure seeing you. It's been a pleasure talking with you. It's been a pleasure agreeing to disagree with you on a couple of things regarding Superman, because I may be a Man of Steel defender. You're kind of like, it's not really my thing, but hey, it's all good.
Hey, you know what though? As long as you like it, if there's something out there people enjoy, I'm all for it.
There you go.
And I'm.
It's okay.
I've never been one of those, because I see people all the time that are like that. Oh, you like that? We can't.
Yeah, you don't drink the haterade around here, which is fine, which is great, because I don't drink it either, really.
Because I know there are things that I like that people look at me like, really? Why?
Like, why do you make all these bookmarks? Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. No, I think it makes sense. But bookmarks are meant to be enjoyed and used. So,
but the beauty of it is, if this Superman is not for you, there will be more, and we'll get a different version.
Yeah,
we just had one on TV.
Superman and Lois just wrapped up 2 minutes ago.
So, because there's the movie coming, I would not be surprised if there's another Superman cartoon.
Yep, another
or a
show that is
Justice League or
announced,
something. Yeah,
or maybe a video game is going to be announced.
because certainly they're having good success with Creature Commandos over there on Max. So I could see them doing it like a new Superman animated series to go
That's
around.
very true.
Because it's not uncommon. I know there's about to be there's going to be a new Spider-Man cartoon on Disney Plus that's
that's
based
right.
on the MCU version of Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. Well, that's going to be intriguing.
Yeah, it's like the early days before he gets the suit that Tony gives him.
Tony gives him. Okay.
So he's in his like pre-suit and so yeah, it's so there's but I would be surprised if there's not a Superman cartoon sometime in the next couple of years.
You know what they Well, you know what they say, right? Time will tell.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, this has been a great episode. This has been episode 2 of my current run as your new host and producer, the cream that rises.
You didn't get fired after last week. See, that's
the cream of the crop. And this has been a great episode. So thank you to every single one of you who have tuned in, watched, liked, commented, shared this video. Thank you so much. This has been a great experience hosting FreeWheeling Friday so far. I'm looking for a guest for next Friday, December the 27th. So if anyone's interested and you're an indie creator and you love comics or you love pop culture and all this other stuff, slide into my DMs or let me know, all that good stuff. And Woody just said, "Ooh yeah, thumbs up." Thank you,
and he
Woody.
said it just like that because that's how I heard it when I read it in the comment.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Woody. Thank you so much, kind sir. But no, this has been great. So don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. Comment on it. Share it with everybody you know. If you're watching this live on the replay, thank you for doing that. Bobby, it was great to see you again. Congratulations on all your success.
Thanks.
Everything you're doing. I'm looking forward to getting that Ric Flair door hanger in my mailbox.
Yes.
The Jaws bookmark's going to be there pretty soon, I think. So if someone wants to know more about you,
here's your envelope.
Yes, take a look at this. Let's blow that up. There it is. Look at that. Good grief! Don't bend the envelope.
Yes, I do. Whenever somebody buys something from my store, I
look at that.
I doodle something.
You see that?
It's become a thing. Like I'll go in the post office to mail it, and like the people in the back come out to see what I've drawn.
Oh, really?
Envelope. Yeah.
So you have you have a fan club at the United States Postal Service.
Like I was afraid they would hate it because almost every one of them is going like, "Don't bend this," Don't bend my package. I figured they would hate it. But now they get a big, "Oh my God, that's cool. What have you drawn today?" And so yeah, it's been pretty cool.
Well, Woody says, "Laugh out loud." That's nice of you. He just said that in the comments. So, Bobby, if someone wants to know more about you or purchase those bookmarks and wonderful door hangers, where can they follow you on social media or purchase these things?
Right down there, BobbyNash.com, and that's the hub for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have a link to my store right there on the left side of the page. I have a store where you can buy stuff, or if I don't have everything there because some stuff I don't keep in stock all the time. But if there's anything of mine that you're interested in, it's not there, shoot me a message through social media or my website. Say, "Hey, I'd like this book, and if I can get it, I can sell it to you. I'll sign it, sell it. Cover price plus shipping. I don't upsell, that kind of stuff. So cover prices and." Sign it and send it to you and draw on your envelope. That's a little freebie. And like I've had some people buy stuff from the store just to get the drawing on the envelope, which I find funny, but it's cool. I have had someone tell me that I want the envelope art. So I'm buying it from you instead of like going to Amazon. I'm going to buy it from you. And so, well, that's cool. And I love to draw, so they're fun. And if I know the person, I try to tailor it to them. I don't always know the person, but like the reason that I did Charlie Brown was last week. You and I talked about Charlie Brown, and so I said, "Oh, Charlie Brown," and so So if I know the person, I'll try to tailor it, to them. I did that when I did the Kickstarter for the Sheriff Myers collection earlier in the year. The people, I threw it. You got a bookmark. And so the people that I knew, I tried to give them bookmarks I knew were of characters they liked. So I do that whenever I can.
That's just bloody genius. Yes. Bobby, you're the man. Links to where you can follow that are in the description below. So make sure you check that out. Bobby, it was great to see you. I'm going to talk to you again here momentarily. So
yes, absolutely. Thanks again for having me 2 weeks in a row. It was awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have to, maybe we'll make this a an ugly habit, and have you as the co-host of the show. Who knows? Yeah, maybe we'll make you
anything's possible.
Maybe we'll make you an offer somewhere in the new year you can't refuse. I don't know. You
Pull
never
out
know.
the checkbook.
Yeah, Pops and I will pull out our non-existent checkbooks. Thank you, Pops Van Zant. You silly goose. Look at you, Bobby. By the way, Woody just said, thanks, Bobby. See? There you go.
Thank you, Woody. Thanks for coming and listening.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. So,
Bobby.
Yeah, we rambled all right. But
but you know what? On a show called Freewheeling Friday,
it can go anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it can go anywhere.
Yes, I certainly didn't expect to talk on some of the topics that we talked on. So it was nice.
Yeah, now I get to learn more about Kojak the Night Stalker.
Kojak.
Yeah,
Kojak's a whole different guy.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pronounce it correctly. You have to tell me. But anyway, Bobby, I'm going to talk to you here momentarily. It was great to see you. You're the man. This was a lot of fun. My name is Ryan of Anti-Quote Channel. Follow me across all forms of social media, simply at Anti-Quote Channel. On Anti-Quote Channel, we talk about movies, TV series, comic books, words on a page. That's right, words on a page, because Bobby Nash has been on our show before, and he writes a lot of great best-selling books, whether it's the Snow series or something centering around the pulp character of Domino Lady, if I'm remembering that correctly. A few other characters as well, so it's a lot of fun. Once again, Freewheeling Fridays is every Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm looking for a guest for December the 27th. So if you know of anybody who might be interested, slide into my DMs, send me an email. Bobby's going to be sending out my information to some of his friends because he knows one too many people for his own good. But in the best way possible, Bobby. I don't mean it as a negative. It's a positive for you. So looking forward to doing this all over again. And don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified of when the videos go up or they go live. And remember, what was I trying to say? Life is better when celebrating your favorite characters or fandoms. And if you're interested in learning more about the Madness Comic Network and some of the many, many different shows and many, many different personalities that come across their airwaves, we have this for you. Thank you for joining us for Freewheeling Fridays. We'll see you all again next time. And remember, just life is better when celebrating pop culture. That's all I gotta say. Take care and enjoy yourselves. And happy holidays to you and your loved ones.
On the tube and feel the vibe. Every show you crave right here live. Heroes and villains clash in the night. Madness Comic Network sets it right. Scroll through the list, find what you need. Epic battles and fast-paced speed. From capes to cosmic space delight. Tune in and watch your favorites ignite. On Facebook, share the thrill so grand. On X, the buzz across the land. Madness Comic Network all around. In every episode, joy is found. Uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic brightens days. Hey! New uploads, they never end. Superheroes and their friends. Catch every twist and every turn. Madness Comic, you will yearn. Stay up to date with every twist. Madness Comic, don't miss a gist. From laughter to tears, every mood. Madness Comic sets the groove. Click that button and subscribe. Catch the wave and ride the tide. Join the fun, join the craze. Madness Comic.